All right, welcome back to Millennial Meditations. And today, instead of talking about news and politics, I'm going to talk more about religion and specifically my problem with the church, Big C church, as a whole in today's America. This isn't directed at any one specific church or congregation or denomination. This is more of a universal problem I have. And I do realize the common denominator here is me, but I also feel that a lot of people feel this way as well. So, um, I, as someone who has gone to church pretty much my whole life, I see a throughput with how today's church in America operates. And it almost sickens me now that pastors and preachers are too afraid to call out evil by name in today's world, and especially if they have a day job that they have significant influence on the American people in. So if you work in the schools or you have a government job, you work for the county auditor, or you're in the court system, or something like that. Uh, if you have influence with people on a day to day basis like that, and you're a Christian and a pastor, then you have more of an obligation to call out evil by name than the rest of us do. And I'm talking about things like certain curriculum in public schools um, that are teaching elementary age kids how to um, engage in sex acts. It's sick, and if you know that certain books like this book is gay or genderqueer are being taught to elementary school kids, and you're not calling that out by name in your Sunday sermons, then you are complicit in evil as well. And if you don't know what I'm talking about, books like that are being taught to elementary school age kids, and things in these books include teaching elementary school kids, I'm going to hammer that home, elementary age kids, how to engage in oral sex, anal sex, how to use strap on dildos, and how to use gay hookup apps. Now, if you're watching this and you're gay, more power to you. I don't want to I don't want to shove my religious beliefs down people's throats. And I don't think that the church, let me rephrase that. I don't think that religion should be shoved down people's throats. But if you, and I cannot state this enough, if you know that this stuff is going on in public schools and you're a pastor or a preacher or have some kind of influence within your church and you're not calling this out, then you are part of the evil that is going on today. And I don't care if you are afraid of offending the old ladies in your church because you use the words oral sex or blowjob or strap on dildo. If they get more offended at you using those words than the fact that's happening, then they need to go. They need to leave the church and go find somewhere else. Because you, as a pastor, have the obligation to let people know what is happening. Now, I am not one that thinks that abstinence only should be taught in public schools, because it is a public school and there are people and kids that come from different backgrounds, different religious beliefs, and in some way I do think that church and state should be separate. Now, let's caveat that for a moment. The whole idea between the separation of church and state was to make sure that the state, i.e., the government, stayed out of how religious beliefs are taught. Okay, that was the original intent of that, and that has been skewed and twisted and perverted since then. I do think that if you are an elected official and you come from an area in this country that is largely Christian, then yes, you should represent those people from your district and let your religion and your conscience dictate how you vote on legislation, how you push certain bills forward. I don't think that it should infringe on other people's religious freedoms. So there's a fine line there. However, I'm just going to hammer this home. The separation of church and state is to make sure that the government cannot mandate how religious practices are observed. That is why we don't have a national religious belief. Okay, um, so kind of veering back on the subject here. Um, I don't think that abstinence only should be taught in public schools. If you want to teach that to your children and you take them to church and you're raising them in a church going, Bible based Christian home, more power to you. Cool. Sex ed should be taught in schools, but here, huge but, sex ed should cover topics like how babies are made, what the sexual reproductive organs do, the difference between them, because there's a difference between male and female, boy, girl, man, and woman, what STDs are, how they're transmitted, the side effects of them if they are not treated, for the ones that are treatable, and how to prevent unwanted pregnancy. Because it is well known that girls who get pregnant in high school um, tend to not have a more prosperous life outside of high school. Now, I'm not. I am totally not bashing any girl who gets pregnant in high school and still has the baby, because my mom was one of them. She got pregnant with me her senior year of high school, had me, and look at me now. I'm doing pretty darn good. I got a full time job. I own my house. Like, I'm doing all right, and she is one hell of a woman because she's gone through a lot in her adult life since then. So if anyone is a saint, it is my mom. So, mom, love you. Thank you for putting up with all that you did when I was growing up and for raising me the way you did. However, I also realize I'm an anomaly and this isn't the case for everyone. So, that being said, learning learning ways to prevent unwanted pregnancy are also um, needed when it comes to sex ed. So, where am I going with this? Uh, Again, pastors, preachers, and people of influence within the church, big church, not any one denomination or congregation, have an obligation to call out this stuff by name to your congregations. Will it offend people? Yes. But at this point, some people need to be offended. I don't care about your feelings anymore, because this is a problem that is it's going after the youth of this nation. Um, and if the little old ladies in your church get offended and leave, more power to you. Bye, Susie or Judith or whatever your name is. You know, um, these things are happening. And if you get offended by hearing the words that I said earlier and not the fact that's happening, then you are also complicit in this kind of stuff. Also, another problem that I have with the church as a whole is anyone who is gay or lesbian or bisexual, or quite frankly just doesn't fit into what it looks like to be a Christian, are often ostracized or browbeaten for not being good enough to join your little club or whatever. And this is so detrimental to what the church is supposed to be doing. I mean, if you read in the four gospels, Matthew, Mark, Luke, and John, Jesus didn't care about the kind of clothes that people wore or where they were born and raised or what their background was. You know, he healed the sick and affirmed of all kinds. Now, his message was ultimately, hey, the things you've been doing are not good. You know, go and sin no more. And I fully believe that. All people need Jesus because all have sinned and fallen short of the glory of God. I know what the book says. But when you want to browbeat people because they're not good enough, you're doing the exact opposite of what Jesus would want you to do. And then you want to sit and wonder why people don't want to come to church because they deal with that when they come through the doors. Like, how are we supposed to spread the message when people are met with that kind of uh, aggression or negativity from us? Like, why would anybody in their right mind want to be a part of that? Instead of saying, "Hey, I know your background and your life, hasn't been perfect. Please come, hear the message. Come as you are, but don't leave the same way you came." That, I think, is the ultimate message of what Jesus would want. And he shows us that time and time again. Every time he heals somebody, or I'm thinking right now of the man who was he couldn't walk, and his friends literally carved a hole in the roof of the house that Jesus was at to lower him down to Jesus so Jesus could heal him. And Jesus told the man to pick up your mat and go. And that's symbolic of take your old life with you, let it be a reminder of what I've done to you today, and go tell people about this to spread my message. I'm also thinking, and I know it's a kind of a cliche that people use in the church, but I'm thinking of the woman at the well when she came out in the middle of the day, which is, to my knowledge, kind of symbolic of itself because most people at the time wouldn't go to draw water for their animals in their household at the middle of the day because it was stupid hot in the middle of the day. But she came out in the middle of the day to get water, and Jesus met her there and basically tells her her whole life up to that point. And she goes running back into town. The disciples come back because he sent them into town, and they're like, "Hey, Jesus, what's going on?" And the woman comes running back with the whole town behind her because the whole town is amazed at this Jesus dude who, just told this woman all about her life. And what does he tell her as well? Go and sin no more. So I know some people are probably going to comment on this and be like, well, you ain't perfect either. You ain't Jesus. Blah. I'm aware of that, man. I know my flaws. I know my mistakes. And I'm not perfect. I'm not trying to present myself as the next Messiah because I know I'm not perfect. I mess up just as much as anybody else. But I'm saying this because I think the church, Big C church as a whole, needs a bit of a wake up call and a course correction on methodology and strategy of how they're going to win people over. Because it truly shows in today's society that we have a spiritual weakness or a sickness going on. And I truly think we all need Jesus. Honestly, I do. Now, again, not trying to force my beliefs down anybody. If you want to have a religious conversation or a theological conversation, I would be more than happy to do that. I enjoy talking about this stuff, but I also, again, to wrap this up, believe that pastors and preachers need to quit being afraid of offending the elderly in their church and tell things how it is and expose the evil that is going on by name, not just general statements about how there's evil in the world, and uh, you know, walk with Jesus to avoid the downfall of man and stuff like that. Like, no, you need to call this stuff out specifically by name to let your congregation know specifically what it is that is going on today. And I think that too many too many Christian leaders, I'll say, have their eyes focused too much upward that they can't see what's going on right in front of them. And I think we need just a little bit of focus straight forward instead of upward all the time, because there is a lot of stuff going on right in front of us that you won't see if you're not if you're only focused with your eyes upward all the time. So, if you are a Christian and go to church and have any other comments you want to say about this, please leave them in the comment section down below. If for some reason you're a pastor or a preacher and watching this and have some kind of rebuttal or correction to anything I've said, please also leave a comment in the comment section down below. And if you liked this video as well, again, like it, share it, subscribe, and I might do more stuff like this in the future too. So, with that being said, um, God bless y'all. Love one another, be vigilant, and do what's right for you and your family. So, with that being said, I'll see y'all next time.